Hey, this is Gina Duke with Churchtown Ministries. You know that we have been talking about how to discern God's voice, how to hear God. And I think we've kind of gotten that nailed down somewhat, that we're at that place where we can kind of discern if God is speaking to us. And I know for me, a lot of times He'll speak to me when I'm in the shower, or when I used to have a very long commute to work and I'd have the praise and worship music playing in the background, and the Lord would just begin to speak to me. And I'm going to share with you what that's like. Sometimes the Lord would speak something to me, such as, I want you to call your neighbor and minister to your neighbor. I mean, maybe they've not been well lately or something. And we're going to liken what that is like. Let's just bring it into a very physical reality for us. And we're going to say that things like that are what we would call kingdom assignments, God's work, would be like a balloon in a balloon bouquet. And so maybe the Lord would say, I want you to call your neighbor and minister to your neighbor. And I'd be like, okay. And then maybe later in the week, the Lord might say something else to me. Maybe He would say, there's a Bible study at church, and I really think that you ought to do it. And then I'd be like, okay. And I would have that kingdom assignment that I need to do. And then maybe at some other point, the Lord would say, you got that cousin who's having marital problems, and maybe you should minister to her and talk to her about that. And so again, here's another kingdom assignment. And sometimes maybe it's something like, I want you to carry some food to Sister so-and-so who just had surgery. I mean, because the enemy does not give us things like this to do. The things that God gives us to is really about ministry and loving on one another. And then maybe the Lord is asking me to just step out in faith and join a particular ministry. Sometimes they're short-term plans, sometimes they're long-term plans. But again, here's something I want to add to my bouquet of balloons. And then, here's another one. Maybe the Lord is asking me to invite someone to church, to witness to someone about Jesus Christ. And so here we are, we have our kingdom assignments, and this is what we do, is we try to hold on to them because they're important to us. And so we'll go through our life, but that's what happens, is then life happens. And so then I would get to work, and I would have all of this paperwork that I've got to work on or I've got to do. And then maybe a little bit later, there's a project that I'm working on at work, and I'm trying to, work on my project a little bit. And then, we take phone calls. We kind of get distracted, and can you hold, please? And, it just keeps on going. And it's not even always our job. Sometimes it's like our kids. We got babies that we have to take care of, and so we're trying to hold on to that. And then, of course, we got bills to pay, and, we have to take care of those things. And then, here we go. Here's a book, a Bible study, because, yes, we are going to do things for our church, and sometimes even church work can get in the way of us doing kingdom work. There is a difference. And then, well, of course, we have to have some time to go to the movies and do things that we like. And pretty soon, before we know it, guess what? I'm not holding on to those kingdom assignment balloons any longer. They're just kind of floating there above my head. And so pretty soon, we have all these kingdom assignments just floating above our heads. And periodically, we'll get a moment of spiritual clarity, and we will have an opportunity to look up out of beyond the fray of our everyday lives, and we'll remember those things, and we'll be like, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get to that. Yes, I'm going to do that. And but the problem is they're no longer really within our grasp, meaning they're really not a priority for us, which is very important because Ephesians 2:10 says that we're God's masterpiece, that He has created some things for us to do. He created them in advance. So these are very important things that we need to be focused on, but right now we're not. And you know what this looks like? Now I want you to really look at these balloons. What this really looks like, because we know that Satan, he is the prince of the air. It looks like there's a party. I mean, he must be thinking, with all these kingdom assignments floating around our heads that's not being done, they're having a field day. It's a party for the enemy. Now look what happens. Eventually over time, these balloons, really if you left them that day floating above your head in that room and you come back, they're going to slowly start drifting apart from one another, and they're going to start lowering to the ground. And then at that point, they just get out of God's timing. The things that you should have done already, you really haven't done. A great example would be like if I had a family member and I know they're having marital problems and I wait to go to them when the Lord was compelling me to go to them maybe a few days ago or a few weeks ago. Instead I wait, now they filed for divorce. So those are some of the things that we can get out of God's timing with, and then it's just not the same when we go and do it. Like look at this one balloon. This would be a kingdom assignment. It's kind of puny. We would say it's kind of lost its anointing. I mean really, when God gives us something to do, He gives us this special power, this special favor, maybe what we call a special anointing to do what He's called us to do. So don't wait till your kingdom assignment looks like this. And that's why it is so important that when we get a kingdom assignment, that we execute that assignment. Remember earlier when we were looking up at the balloons who were just kind of bobbing on my ceiling, and I said, you know, it really looks like a party to the enemy. Well, here's what happens. When we have a kingdom assignment and we execute that kingdom assignment, it's like this. And you know what? Then it doesn't seem like such a party for the enemy. It becomes a true war zone. You've heard that saying where when a person gets up, you want the enemy to say about you, oh my gosh, she's up again. And that's exactly how the enemy needs to feel when we're executing those kingdom assignments and we're accomplishing great things for God. So make sure you hold on to those kingdom assignments and you execute them. In order to hold on to my kingdom assignments, one of the best things that I've ever done is started writing them down. And of course, I do structured prayer journaling, so I have a compartment here, and I list the things that God is asking me to do. Now, before you get overwhelmed with that, I want you to remember this. You will find that you're asking a lot more from God than He's ever going to ask of you. So it's only a few things throughout the month that the Lord will compel me to do. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed, but I typically write that down. And then once I have executed that kingdom assignment, I make note of it. And that is one of the ways that I've been able to hold on to my balloons. So if you need help in that area, begin to do some journaling. I have a video on another tab called My Prayer Closet if you'd like to see how I do my prayer journaling. Thanks for tuning in to GinaDuke.com.